Imagine being trapped in a snow covered mountain lodge, surrounded by your friends, and knowing that at any moment, one of them could die, and it's all because of the choices you make. Welcome to Until Dawn, a horror game that blends cinematic storytelling with interactive gameplay. But here's the question: almost a decade after its release, is Until Dawn still worth playing today? Well, stick around because we're diving deep into the scares, the choices, and the moments that make this game unforgettable in the next 10 minutes or less. What's up, guys? It's Christian here from 10 Minute XP, and today we're diving into Until Dawn. Released in 2015 exclusively for the PlayStation 4, Until Dawn was praised for bringing a truly cinematic horror experience to gaming, blending interactive storytelling with classic slasher thrills. Nearly a decade later, it's still remembered for its tense atmosphere and memorable characters that challenged you to survive until dawn. First off, the story. Until Dawn throws you into a classic horror setup. Eight friends retreat to a remote mountain lodge 1 year later after a tragic incident that claimed the lives of two of their friends. What follows is a tense, slow burn horror story that's both eerie and engaging. The game leans heavily into cinematic presentation, with a camera style that makes you feel like you're watching a horror movie unfold, and the choices you make determine who lives and who dies. One thing that still impresses is the atmosphere: the lighting, the snow, the creaking floors. It all adds up to a sense of dread that actually works. Even today, it's surprisingly effective. Now, some horror games rely on cheap jump scares, but Until Dawn uses tension and pacing to create real suspense. And the writing? It hits the sweet spot between horror cliches and clever meta horror moments. You have the classic final girl trope, the mysterious killer, and all the horror movie archetypes. But the characters aren't just cardboard cutouts. You start caring about them, which makes the choices feel real. One of the clever things that Until Dawn does is how it layers its story. There is a mysterious psychiatrist subplot and some unexpected twists that keep you guessing, adding depth to what could have been a straightforward slasher story. The game rewards careful attention to details, and these story layers make each replay feel fresh. Now let's talk gameplay. Until Dawn is a narrative driven, interactive drama, meaning that your choices matter, sometimes in surprising ways. The butterfly effect system tracks your decisions, and even small actions can have consequences later in the story. Will you save a friend or let them die? Will you investigate a suspicious noise or ignore it? These choices shape the narrative, and sometimes you won't even realize the impact until much later. The controls are straightforward, and the game uses a mix of exploration, dialogue, and QuickTime events. Now, QTEs can be hit or miss for some players, but in Until Dawn, they add to the tension. A single wrong move during a chase sequence can cost a character their life, which keeps your heart racing. Some critics have mentioned that the gameplay can feel limited compared to modern titles, and that's fair. There's no combat system to speak of. This is a pure tension and story driven interaction. But for a game that's essentially a playable horror movie, it works perfectly. And another gameplay element that really stands out is how the game encourages exploration. The environments aren't just for show. Searching rooms, examining objects, and discovering hidden clues can reveal backstory, foreshadow future events, or even unlock alternate outcomes. This adds an extra layer of immersion, making you feel like your choices extend beyond dialogue and QTEs into the very world you're navigating. Now let's discuss the visuals and audio, because visually, Until Dawn still holds up. The character models were top tier for the PS4 era, and while it's not on par with current gen hyperrealism, the facial animations and expressions are surprisingly detailed. The snow covered mountains, the abandoned lodge, and the surrounding forest all feel alive. The audio design is another strong point. The music cues, the creaking floors, the distant howls. It all contributes to the sense of unease. You'll find yourself pausing just to listen to the environment, which is a rare feat for games this old. Now for the things that have aged well. So, Until Dawn's core strength is storytelling. The branching narrative still feels meaningful, and replayability is high because different choices lead to drastically different outcomes. The horror atmosphere and character interactions still work. They don't feel like they're tied to 2015 trends, which is impressive. Also, the moral choices and consequences are something modern horror games sometimes lack. Nowadays, many titles lean heavily on combat or action sequences, but Until Dawn is about tension, decision making, and watching relationships evolve or collapse based on your actions, which on top of that, it creates real emotional investment. You start caring about the characters, and the fear of losing them adds a layer of suspense and anxiety that many modern horror games don't manage to achieve. Another thing that's really aged well is the game's branching narrative. Your choices genuinely matter, and different decisions can lead to completely different outcomes. This makes replaying the game fun and rewarding because you can explore new character fates, hidden events, and subtle changes in storylines. Even years later, this system keeps players coming back. Now, for the things that haven't aged well. Okay, so the QuickTime events can feel a bit dated. Missing one can feel frustrating, especially if you're replaying sections to see different outcomes. And while the controls are fine, modern gamers might find the movement slightly clunky compared to today's standards. Another thing that feels a bit dated is the camera and controls. The fixed cinematic angles are great for atmosphere, but sometimes they make navigation tricky, and the controls can feel stiff, especially during tense chase sequences. Modern games give you smoother, more fluid movement, so this might frustrate some players. Additionally, some horror tropes have aged. Certain character stereotypes and predictable jump scares might feel a little cheesy to seasoned horror fans. But honestly, that's part of the charm. It's a love letter to classic teen slasher films. Okay, so now it's time for the final verdict. So, is Until Dawn still worth playing today? Absolutely. It's a unique experience that blends storytelling, horror, and player choice in a way few games do. Even if some mechanics feel dated, the tension, the atmosphere, and branching narrative keep it engaging. If you enjoy horror, suspense, or interactive movies, then this game is a must play or must replay. And here's a tip: play it with the friends if you can. Watching each other make choices, scream at the screen, and argue over who's going to die first adds a whole new level of fun. For me, it's still a really fun game that I can enjoy from time to come up with a different ending. So, in saying that, I recommend you give it a shot if you haven't already. And that's it for today's XP. If you like this game review, give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe. It would greatly help my channel, and I appreciate the support. Check back soon for more 10-minute or less game reviews.